People don't really like the Wii U Gamepad for some reason, and I think that's pretty weird, because to me, it's pretty much an ideal controller. Is the Gamepad perfect? No. Was it the right move to make a console centered around it? Heck no! We all know how that panned out. But is it really the cheap, uncomfortable brick that needs charging every 5 minutes that everybody seems convinced it is? Does it really deserve all the bashing it seems to get? I don't think it does. So today, I'd like to stand up for the good old Gamepad. Terrible focal point of a console, I'll admit that, but still a pretty darn good controller. This isn't a very interesting topic, I know, but until Nintendo announces some more stuff, this is probably the type of lame video you should expect. Hello all 2,370 of you, I'm Redkwan, and I really like the Wii U Gamepad, actually. So let's talk about the Gamepad. The Gamepad is a large controller which has all the same buttons as a normal controller, with the exception being it has a big screen in the middle, and apparently people really dislike it. Now, like I mentioned before, I'll agree with you that it was a bad decision to make the Gamepad in the first place. People didn't understand what it was or what it did, Nintendo didn't really take advantage of it with most of their games, and it made the whole console a lot more expensive than it needed to be. The Wii U almost definitely would have been better off without the Gamepad, and maybe it wouldn't have had the sad fate it did. But what I think is unreasonable is criticizing the Gamepad as a controller. Because if you take the "it killed the Wii U" thing out of it, it's actually really good. And not to dismiss any of the complaints people have with it, but I'm about to dismiss all the complaints people have with it. Because I would guess that most people who take shots at the Wii U Gamepad have barely used it. Bit of a hot take, I know. But I'll be fair. I'll take a look at the main complaints people have and then tell you why they're wrong. Or, I'm sorry, why I disagree. Because they're wrong. So the first complaint is that the Gamepad feels cheap. And I think this mainly comes from the comparisons to the Switch, which has a matte finish instead of a glossy finish, which is apparently a big deal to some people. Now, I'll admit it, the Wii U Gamepad is glossy. It's true, I can't argue with this. But I've never thought it felt cheap. Although the screen isn't multi-touch, I think by doing it the way they did for the Wii U, the screen is actually more durable and less prone to smudging than the Switch's screen. Plus, a stylus is pretty necessary for any of the major games that actually required a touchscreen anyway. Like Pikmin 3 comes to mind if you're playing on the Gamepad. And the Gamepad in general is just very durable. And based on all the problems with the Switch so far, I think it's pretty clear that hardware-wise, the Gamepad actually was pretty darn high quality. The plastic doesn't feel cheap to me at all, and I think it has a really nice weight to it. I can see where people are coming from here because it is, in fact, glossy, but I always thought that it was a very well-made controller. And now we've got complaint number 2. Is it heavier than a Switch? Yeah, probably. I haven't weighed them myself, but I can take an educated guess here, probably yes. But it's really not bad at all to hold while you're playing something. Maybe if you held it above your head or something, maybe. It could just be that I hold the Gamepad in a really convenient way or something, but I don't think the weight of the Gamepad is a problem. And as for it being uncomfortable, shape-wise, I never understood this. The back of the Gamepad is nicely rounded and shaped to fit your hands, and the buttons are placed conveniently for thumb rotation. You look at that thumb rotation! The Switch doesn't have any of that stuff, and some people like that better? I don't really understand. The Switch's buttons do not have ideal placement for thumb rotation, and the back of the Switch has no hand shaping. The Switch is flatter than a Minecraft super flat world. The Gamepad's just so much nicer to hold for me. And the third complaint is battery life. First, I'll just start by saying the Wii U Gamepad has almost twice as long a battery life as the Switch, the original ones at least, and unlike the Switch, it's not built to be taken on the go, so battery life isn't as important of an issue anyway. From my experience, what the Wii U's Gamepad gives you in terms of battery life is usually plenty, and not to make excuses for anything, but the Wii U had plenty of different controller options too, including a Pro Controller that lasts for 80 hours if it runs out and you don't feel like charging it, and you want to keep playing. And by the way, it's about the most convenient controller to play with while charging. The cord slips right into the top of the Gamepad, right? And it's far away from your hands, and it's super thin, so it doesn't restrict your movement at all, and the cord is pretty ridiculously long too. I'm starting a new internet trend right now called the Wii U Gamepad Charging Challenge. Go to the room where you have a Wii U set up, and you just try to find a spot in there where the Gamepad is out of reach of an outlet. This challenge is going to be huge, I'm telling you. But yeah, again, the charging issue has never been a problem for me. Plus, it has the ability to play off the TV, and you could use it as a TV remote, and I don't know, it just did a lot of cool stuff. Was it a good idea to make? No, it was a really bad idea. But is it a bad controller? No. And I think most of the issues people had with it are a little unfair. And I think the Gamepad is actually a much better controller than people give it credit for. Well, I'm Redkwan. How do you feel about the Wii U Gamepad? I highly doubt anybody's still watching at this point because I'm just now realizing I've spent 5 minutes talking about why people unfairly criticize a video game controller on a console nobody cares about anymore. That just shows you how good my ideas are right now. It is really bad. Please help me. Anyways, I'm Redkwan. Thank you all for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all later. Goodbye.